All right. I'll speak louder. All right. We left off Nun Zayin Amud Aleph, smack in the middle. I'd say 53% down. Nisarvu lo damim bedamim. So, all right. So let's take a step back. What's going on here? So brings the coals inside with the ladle, burns the ketairas, comes back out, takes the blood, both bloods, applies them both on the inside towards the aron, right? Comes back outside, gets the bloods again, and separately applies them towards the aron in the middle, but on the paroches, right, on the curtain, applies them there. But and each one is towards the paroches. The Gemara learns out, right? Al lifnei, right? Not specifically al. So, but there's edus that we saw. There was blood in Rome, right? Anyways, let's say the bloods that each one is supposed to be done separately. Let's say the bloods got mixed together. So nisar lo damim bedam. The bloods get mixed together for whatever reason. The blood of the bull and the seir get mixed. So amarava naisin achas lamala v'shev lamata ve'ayla kan lekan. Okay, so what do you do? Very easily. Instead of doing two applications, right? You do one, right? One on top, 7 on bottom, which was the way that we applied the blood on all of them, and that will count for both. So Amar Kamei Rabbi Yirmiyah, the simple Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar. So Amar, he said, "Bavlai tipshi mishum the diary ba'ara de chashucha ami shmaitz de machshin." Right? I understand, because you live in a dark place, right? Silly you Babylonians, but because you live in a dark place, right? You say dark limudim, right? Is that right? According to what you're saying, if you do the both on top, and it should count as the bull and the seir, and then you do the bottom, what you're in essence is doing is you're doing the seir application on top before you do the bottom par application. But what really should be done is par on top, par on bottom, seir on top, seir on bottom. So you can't do what you suggested. The Torah says you should finish for the 1 second. So he goes. So he says you finish up from the atonement of the kodesh. All right, and so that we learn from the pasuk, kila dama par v'achakat kila dama seir. First you complete the par and then you begin the seir. So you can't mix them up. Ela Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rather, you take the mixed blood and you do 1 on top and 7 towards the bottom, and that you do that l'shem for the purpose of the bull offering. Then you do 1 on top and 7 on the bottom for the purpose of this seir. Now, so let's say it gets mixed up, but again, it gets mixed up after you start. In other words, he starts off, he does the bull on top. So he does the one application of the par on top, and then he's supposed to go to the bottom, and then the bloods get mixed up together. So Rav Papa kamei de Rav Lamemer. So Rav Papa thought this, said before Rav to say, Naisein shev lamata. Okay, so go ahead and do 7 at the bottom, l'shem par, l'shem seir, and that will count as both bottom 7s, right? And then you go back and you just do 1 more time on top for the seir. So it does, because everyone agrees, right? He already did the bull blood separately on top. So you do the bottom together of the 2 of them, and then you finish up with the top of the seir. So I'm relay Rava. So Rava said, right, stopping Rav Papa, he said, slow down there. At hashta karlan tipshi, right? Till now they call this foolish. Hashta tipshi to tipshi. This is going to be the foolish of the foolish. Why? Right? They taught us something we couldn't even learn from it, right? According to what you're suggesting, according to what you're saying, if you only do 1 application on the bottom of both for the par and the seir, and then you do the 1 on top for the seir afterwards, not only are you doing the seir before the par, which is the problem before, now you're doing the seir bottom 1 before the seir top 1. Right? And the Torah says the order of the seir blood application is 1 on top, 7 on bottom. So Ella, rather, top of the page in Nun Zayin the base, Ella Marava, Naisein Sheva Lamata, L'Shem Par. So rather, what do? You did the blood already of the bull, and then they get mixed up. Rather, do 7 more on the bottom, L'Shem Par, for the purpose of the bull. Then you go ahead and reapply the mixed up blood together, once on top for the purpose of the seir of the he-goat, and 7 on the bottom for the bottom 7. Fine. Now, new case. Let's say he gets mixed up with the cups, right? They were not labeled properly, or they weren't labeled at all. We saw the machlokas earlier. They weren't labeled, and he mixed up. He goes, "Oh, is this the bull or is this the seer? I do not know." Nisein v'chayzer, nisein v'chayzer v'nisein. Right. So he applies one on top, 7 on bottom. One then he goes back, 1 on top, 7 on bottom, and then he goes to the other one, 1 on top, 7 on bottom. So he takes one, right? Takes A, applies on top, bottom. Takes B, applies on top of the bottom, and takes A again, applies on top of the bottom. Why? So a total of 3 times. Why? So why is that? Because that case, the bull, whichever it's A or B, will come before the seir. So if the bull was A, he applied, right, A, B, A. So A before A, the bar came before the seir. And if the B1 was the seir, right, so then he did A. If the B1 was the par, then he did A, B, A. Once again, the B was the par, and then he did following that the seir. So therefore, he did an extra seir before the par, which is no big deal, because as long as it is the par, then the seir, then everything works out.
This is a case only if the bloods became mixed.
No. This is no. We're, the 2 cups, the 2 klisharis were mixed up. He didn't know which one was which. You see, there's 2 bloods. It wasn't mixed in together. The other cases we had before, they were mixed together in the same kli. Here, now he just doesn't know which one's which. Okay, so apply this one, 1 and 7. Apply the second one, 1 and 7, and then go redo this one, 1 and 7. So you're guaranteed the par will become before the seer. Correct. Now, next case. Mixas damim nisarvelo, mixas damim loy nisarvelo. If you have a case, right, where some of the bloods are mixed up together, right, with one another, and some are not. So basically, he has like an A, right, a B, and an AB together, right? So it's basically 3 kalim, right? So what do you do there? So pshita kiyayiv madina diyayiv, right? Right. So obviously, right, we have an A and B. So obviously, apply the A and B, right? We know which one's the par, we know which one's the bull, and then just leave over the one which the combined 2, right? What's the question? So the Gemara says, no. So the question's like this. Now, pshita kiyayiv mivada yayiv. Vada you give from the one that we know. However, what's the question? Hinach shirayim havi lisod asli oduma dechuyin havi va'azli la'am. Now, there's 2 options to do with the other blood. Now, normally, the shirayim, the leftover blood, is poured upon the yisod of the mizbeach. All right, that's part of the avodah. All right. However, if blood is not used or was wasted or became tummy, whatever it is, it's poured into the almond, to the canal, and all these wash out. Right. So the question is, the blood in the AB, is that considered to be shirayim? Right? Is that considered to be part of the avodah left over, and therefore shirayim is applied, poured at the yisod, at the foundation, at the bottom of the mizbeach, or is it considered to basically be something which is no good? It's dechuya, right? It's no longer fit for the mizbeach, and since it's not fit, it's poured into the canal. So what do we say is the status of this other blood that was mixed up? Remember, you had the blood power was in A, you had the seer that was in B, and then you had a mixture of A, B together in the third kli. Right? So is it poured on the yesod or in the almond? So I'm Rav Papa. We're going to see this machlokas very soon. Even according to the opinion who holds, right, that one kos, right, makes another kos shirayim. In other words, let's say you have, right, for whatever reason, the blood is in two different koses, right, 2 different vessels, right, and I apply the blood for one, the other blood, which is from the same animal, good blood, right, that is made into shirayim. That's still part of this korban, and therefore it's poured on the foundation. Even according to that opinion, who holds that one, even if it's a one kos, can make another kos of the same blood shirayim. That's only a case of where I can go ahead and pour the blood from either kli I want, because both of them are the good, are the right blood. But in this case, but in this case, if I want to go ahead and give him a third cup, which is the mixture of the par and the seer, I can't, right? Because I'm supposed to take the par blood and the seer blood and don't touch the mixture blood. So the mixture blood is not really fit for the mizbeach. So even according to that opinion, this is not called shirayim. It's not applied to the mizbeach. Rather, it's this is discarded into the canal. And Amarle Rav Huna Bered Rav Yeshua Rav Papa says Rav Papa Adarabba, right? Fakert, opposite. Even according to the opinion who holds, which I guess I will soon see, that if you 2 different cups, of the same blood and you use one, the other cup is no longer fit, and therefore the other blood is poured out. It's not made into shirayim. It's not applied to the mizbeach, right? Even if it makes it on dichui, hani mili the dacha b'yadayim. That's only if you did dicha b'yadayim. If I selected A, right, and purposely, so therefore B is not used for the mizbeach. Therefore B is poured out into the canal. But over here, since I didn't go ahead and do it, in other words, the bloods are mixed together, and since the bloods are mixed, so therefore I didn't basically, push it off myself. It happened on its own. Maybe in that case, it's not considered to be dichoy, and therefore maybe it's considered to be shirayim because it wasn't dachoy b'yadayim. And where is this machlokas? The Tanya. We learned in the Brisa. It says lamalu oimer v'es damo yishbo. Right. By one case, it says in the chatas of the seer of the nasi, it says damo yishbo. It's blood you shall pour out. Ulamata, and then later on, the eskol dama yishboch, all of its blood. So one says it's blood, the other one says all of its blood, right? So what's the kol, right? So menayin lachat shekibel dama be'arba kaisos, but nasim miza achas. Now, normally we apply the blood of the chatas, we apply it to each corner of the mizbeach. Now, let's say it's in 4 cups, and I go ahead to apply to each corner, right? I apply each corner from a different cup. How do you know all of them are poured onto the yisod? Then all the blood you go ahead and pour out. Maybe if I have 4 cups, but I applied to mizbeach the 4 corners only from 1 cup, and I didn't touch the other 3. Maybe those also get poured on the yisod of the mizbeach as part of the korban, as part of the shirayim, the leftovers of this blood. Tamaleimar. Yes, double yishpach. Only its blood you shall pour. Who nishpach liyasod, and always only the leftover from the 1 cup that was applied to mizbech is poured on the yasod. The hey nishpach liyama, and the other 3, which were not used to apply to mizbech, are poured out into the canal. That was the first opinion. And does it say who it was? No, that was Tanakam. And Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon Omer, minayin lechatis. He says no. He argues. He says. How do we know the latter case? And if he receives the blood from the korban, from the shechita of the animal into 4 different cups, and then he goes ahead and he applies only from 1 cup onto the 4 corners of the mizbeach, right? So that all of those are considered to be shirai. That's still part of the same korban. Therefore, it says that's called dama yishboch. All of his blood you shall pour out. In other words, this kol dama yishboch is teaching you that even the other cups that were not selected, those are part of the korban, those are poured out. It says dama yishboch. So what do you do with that pasuk? No, that comes to exclude which blood are we specific that only its blood and not the blood. No, all the bloods of the cups that was received, those are considered part of shirayim. What is considered to be leftover blood that's poured into the alma? That's any blood that was left in the neck of the animal. Fine, 2 dots. Iro dom hapar l'sech dam asir. So you say he pours the blood. So now the blood. So we got through the sprinkling on the inside, right, by where the location of the aron. Then on in the heichal towards the parochas, right. That was done. Then what does he do? Iro dom hapar l'sech dam asir. He mixes the blood of the bull into the seer. So Tanan, so he says Tanan, so our Mishnah is command Yomer Marvin Lekronos, right? Now our Mishnah appears to go according to the opinion who says that we go ahead and we mix the bloods before we go to the next step, right? The next step is after that, you apply the to the 4 corners of the Mizbech Hazav, right, which is located in the Heichal. So our Mishnah seems to say that you mix the blood first, and then you do 1 application to the 4 corners or each corner you apply, because that blood is the combined blood. So you do it together. So our Mishnah appears to go like the one who says that you mix the blood. Right, we're in the bottom of Nun Zayin of Beis, 7 lines from the bottom. Ditamar, Rabbi Yoshia, Rabbi Yochanan says Machlokas between Rabbi Yoshia and Rabbi Yochanan. Chad Omar Marvin, one says you mix the blood first, then you go ahead and apply it to each corner of the Mizbech Hazav. The Chad Omar Ein Marvin, and the other one says no, you apply to the 4 corners, but each one separately. Basically you apply 1, 2, 3, 4, then you take the other blood and do 1, 2, 3, 4. So
just like you did
Right, separately with the sprinkling, exactly. So Tistain the Rabbi Yeshua, let's say that Rabbi Yeshua is the who Damar Marv. He's the one who says that you mix it. Why Damar Afagat like Siv Yachtav, even though it says you don't do it, it doesn't say Yachtav, you do it together. Command Siv Yachtav Dami, right? We learn from the pasuk, it's like he does it together. So the Gemara says no. I feel it him Rabbi Yonasan, even if it's Rabbi Yonasan who Shani Hach over here is different. The Chsiv Achas, because over here since it says Achas one, right? Right, it says the next one says it says achas, right? So it says what do we learn from the word achas, right? Since it says one, you apply it once. So maybe according to Rabbi Yonasan, since it says one, you only apply it once in each corner and not twice. So Tanya delay kishne. However, we have a brisa and not like this teres, which is deflect the say maybe it's Rabbi Yonasan who says you mix it. Rather, we have a brisa which appears to support the fact that Rabbi Yoshia was the one who says you mix the blood first, then you apply it. Why? The pasuk says v'lokach midam apar umidam aseir. You take from the blood of the bull and the blood of the he goat sheyu mu'urvin, that they are mixed. Diva Rabbi Yoshia, which said they're mixed. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yoshia, which says beferish. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yoshia. And turn the page. This is today's daf. Rabbi Yonasan Amer, no, Mizeh b'fnei atzmo, u'mizeh b'fnei atzmo, right? No, you go ahead, and Rabbi Yonasan says, no, you apply this one in the four corners on its own, and then this one on its own four corners. So Amar lo Rabbi Yeshua says Rabbi Yeshua, it says one. So how could you go ahead and you apply it right? Two times, once with the blood of the bull and once the blood of the seir, right? It says you only apply it once, right? Some of the son, right? It says no, you apply it from the blood of the bull and the blood of the seir. If that's the case, why I say achas? If it says the blood of the bull and the blood of the seir, why I say one? Right? Right? In other words, we're teaching us that you only apply each one once. In other words, the four corners, you only do it once. One time all around with the blood of the bull, and one time all around with the blood of the seer. So that's what we learn from Achas. Not that you apply them together. Rather, each one, then you only apply them one series from each one. And Tani Idach, we have another brisa that says, "V'lokach midom hapar midom asir shayu merovim zeh b'zeh." You take the blood from the bull and the blood from the goat, or the he-goat, and you mix them one another. Do you say that you go ahead and mix them up together? Apply this, sprinkle this one on its own, and sprinkle this one on its own. Therefore it says achas. Therefore it says one time. The stomach Rabbi Yeshua. And therefore this Mishnah is like Rabbi Yeshua, who holds that you mix them together and then you go ahead and apply it. Fine. Then it says the next part, Nasa es hamali bereka. All right, so you had the two of them together. One was full of the blood from the bull. The other one was full of the blood of the seer. You mix them together, you pour one to the other, right? And then it says, right, you put the full one into the empty one. Sounds like, right, you have 2 cups. Imagine you have 2 cups, you pour one out. So then, you put the full one into the empty one, right? Then you're holding basically the empty one, and inside the empty one is the full one, right? Now, a separate question will...
assuming that they're both the same size.
Right, or that one can fit in one another, right? So let's see. So I have a separate question, nothing to do with this case, a general question, and we're trying to answer it from our Mishnah. So if one goes ahead and has 2 klisharis, 2 kelim for the mikdash, and then he puts one inside the other, and then he's makabel. So remember, now when you put one inside the other, you're holding the outer one, and the inner one is the one that holds the contents, right, of the blood. So if a person goes ahead and gathers the blood, he does a kabbalas hadam. Mahu min b'mina chaytzitz. Do we say it's a chatzitza, right? Chatzitza, is it considered to be a separation? Now you're not right. You're supposed to be holding the klisharis. So am I holding the klisharis because the one that's holding the blood, I'm actually not making physical contact with? I'm touching the outer one, right, which is holding the inner one, which is holding the blood. So is this considered to be a chatzitza separation or not? Or do we say that since they're both kalim, right, therefore it's like it's all one, right? Is it a chatzitza? Is it min b'mina chaytzitz or ena chaytzitz? Let's look at our Mishnah. So our Mishnah seems to say, right, you put the full one into the empty one, so you're only holding the empty one, but the full one that has the contents, and then you go ahead and do the avoda. Seems like it's no big deal. Between your hand and the kli that's holding the blood. So because I'm not holding that kli, I'm holding the second kli, right? I'm holding the outer kli. So let's learn from a Mishnah, right, that you're holding the outer one, right? So my love, it's not like as we thought, right, that he's putting the full one into the empty one. Of course, it's low. All right. So he says, no, he pours it in. He just means he pours the full one, the contents of it, into the empty one. So he goes, what do you mean? We just said the line before. Line before says you pour one into the other, and then it says you put the full one into the empty one. The Gemara says, no, no, it means that you pour it back. It doesn't mean you're holding two kelim. It suggests, right? It means that I pour it one into the other. Now I have both, and then I pour it again into the first one. Why? In order that the blood should be mixed up very well, right? You're pouring them back and forth in order that the blood should be ma'arvin yafa, right? Very well. So Tashma, middle of the page of Nun Ches Mud Aleph, Tashma, come listen. Haya Oimed al Gabi Kli. Still regarding this question, one was standing upon a Kli, upon a vessel in the Mikdash, or al Gabi Regel Chavero, or on his friend's foot. Puzzle. He is puzzled because he's not standing on the floor of the Mikdash. So what do you see over here? It's a chatzitza, right? A foot on a foot is a chatzitza, right? Min b'mino. No, he's standing on someone else's foot. That was the second one. Or gabi regel chavera. Puzzle.
His foot. It's chavera.
So Gemara answers shani regel deloi matzi mevatale, right? The foot it can't be mevatel. So similar answer what you said, right? Right. In other words, he can't be mevatel. So since he's can't be mevatel, so therefore maybe that definitely is a chatzitza, but maybe that's not applicable in our case. And Ikadami, some slightly different version. This is the original question. Derech shirus bekacho ain't derech shirus bekach. If you put a kli inside a kli, is that proper way of serving or not? Right. Right. It wasn't a question of chatzitza. That was the original question. Right. So Tashma, come listen. The Tan Rabbi Shmuel, it says es kol kli hasharis. It says kol kli, right? Or kile, right? Actually, let me get the right kile, right? Plural, right? As kol kile, right? If I was landing, they would have corrected me. As kol kile hasharis, right? Kile is plural. Hasharis is singular, right? Asher yishuzubam b'kodesh, right? So it says over here, shnei kelim b'shiras achas. You see over here that it is proper because it's telling you that you're holding two kalim and it's one avoda, so therefore we see it's proper. And one side question, and I don't know why one would do this, but let's say there was some sort of vine inside the vessel. The kibel is a dump, and so whatever was left in there, he didn't see it, right? And he was makabel the blood in there. Mahu, what is the halacha there? Do we say min sheinu amino chaytzes? Do we say that since this vine, right, this sieve is not the same material as the kli, as the vessel, and therefore it's a chatzitza, it's considered to be a separation between, right, the blood is not being held in the kli, right, because it's being held by a vine, which is being held by the kli, right? Or maybe it's not a chatzitza. Kevan de mechalchel lechaytz. Or maybe it's not a chatzitza, or maybe we say that since it's porous, right, can get through, it's not a chatzitza, or maybe it doesn't make a difference. So let's learn from a similar case. Once again, I don't know why. Tanina, we learned Zayleif v'holech ad shemegia l'safur. Let's say there was a sponge, and this is over here was talking about a case of the paraduma when they had to go ahead and pour straight from the spring, right? They had to use spring water in order to go ahead and to mix the ashes with the hyssop, right? So let's say there was a sponge in there. So the sponge is no good. It's a separation, right? So basically and they can't have any of the water which is contained by the sponge. It's only the water up until the level of where the sponge is. As long as it doesn't touch, there's no hashaka, then it's fine. So we see over there that until it gets there. So in this case, right, we say that right. So in this case over here, that it's not considered to be a chatzitza because the water goes through, but it's considered the water to be in the sponge, but it's not a chatzitza, right? So too over here. Let's say the sieve is also not considered is not considered one. So I said no. Shanimaya the kalshi. Maybe water is different because maybe it's thinner, it goes all the way through and it goes to the contents, but maybe that the blood would not go all the way through to the kli, and maybe that's considered to be a separation. You get that means some of the version the dam kosher, some learn like this, in the case of blood that it goes through because it's porous enough that the blood can go ahead and make physical contact with the kli. Since it makes contact with the kli, so the sieve is not considered to be a chatzitza. But when it comes to the kaimates, when it comes to flour, then if there's something in the kli, then it would be considered to be a chatzitza. Fine. Now your Mishnah. Mishnah says, top of Nun Ches Amud Beis, the Yotza El Mizbeach Asher Lifnei Hashem. So as we described earlier, right, the Kohen Gadol, right, he combines the blood or he doesn't combine the blood, and he is supposed to apply it to the four corners of the Mizbeach. So let's see this Mishnah. Mishnah says, V'yotza El Mizbeach, and then he goes to the Mizbeach Asher Lifnei Hashem, right, which is before Hashem. So there's two Mizbeach. There's one outside in the courtyard, the much larger one. And then there's the one on the inside, which is by the Shulchan and Menorah, right? There's a picture, I think, in the front of the art scroll of the Mikdash, right? So you have the picture over there, right? So he has the smaller one, which is number 51. So the one in Lifnei Hashem, that is Mizbech Hazav. That's the smaller one on the inside. So
but he says V'yatza. Where is he going out?
So we'll soon see. V'yatza Mizbech Asher Lifnei Hashem, Mizbech Hazav. So he's mechat v'yorei. So now he has to go ahead and apply the blood to the four corners of the mizbech, the four corners, the tops of the mizbech. So mechat v'yorei. So he starts on top and he goes down, right? He goes on top and goes down. He doesn't go up in order not to get himself dirty. So when will he begin? So now we're gonna have to pay a little bit of attention. So just to think about it, Mikeren Mizrachis Tzifonis. He starts at the northeastern side, right? The northeastern side. So you have to sort of picture it, right? So the northeastern side. So let's say this is the Mizbeach, right? So you're going to start over here. I'm just going to point out right now. He starts here, right here, and he goes this way, counterclockwise. Starts northeastern, right? North, south, west, east, right? Northeastern, northwestern, southwestern, southeastern, right? So it's going to. So we say, right? He starts at Masim Mekarim Mizrachis Tzifonis. And then from there he goes to the Tzifonis Maravis to the northwest, Maravis to Ramis and the southwest, Ramis Mizrachis is southeast, right? Counterclockwise. And Mokom Shu Maschil B'chatas Al Mizbech Chitzon Misham Haya Goymer Al Mizbech HaPnim. Side note, right? He ends up, we said, at the southeastern one, right? Other karbanos, normally, when on the outside, on the outer Mizbeach, always starts at this corner. All right, this corner, and then he usually goes around the other way, but we'll soon get to that, right? But the footnote is the one where he ends up here, coincidentally, is the one that he starts in the outer Mizbeach. And Rabbi Eliezer Omer, he's not arguing. Rabbi Eliezer points out, he would stand in one place. He wouldn't necessarily walk around. The small Mizbech is very small. The outer Mizbech is very large, right? So I think it's 32 amos by 32 amos on top. This is, right, very small. So he actually stands in one place, and he does the applications there. But then he applies blood, and all of them he would start at lamala, go up, except for the one that he was standing right in front of him, because right in front of him, you'd start on top, and lamata, and you go down. And he's al tahara shemizbech, and then he would go ahead and sprinkle al tahara shemizbech, and the tahara of the mizbech, which is basically the top of the mizbech, he would sprinkle blood over there, sheva pamim, 7 times. V'shirei adam. And the leftover blood that was not used, that was not sprinkled at all in the previous processes and not applied now in this Mizbech, it was poured upon the Yesod. Where was it? On the western side of the outer Mizbech. So you go outside to the outer Mizbech, pour it on the western side there, which is the first side that he comes upon when he walks there. And normally when outer karbanos on the outer Mizbech, when you pour it out of there, you pour that Yesod Derami on the south side. And Elu, either way, these would meet all in the canal, right? They would go down to pour, there were holes there, It will go down into the canal. Be'am of yaitz the Nachal Kidron, go out the Nachal Kidron. V'nimkarim le Ganan Lezeva Malim Ben. Right, and this used to go out to Nachal Kidron, which had very, very good soil and fertilizer, and they would go ahead and sell, I guess, sell those. Excuse me, right? One, it would be the Meilo over there, right? As Rashi points out, right? You have to go ahead and redeem it in order for it to lose its status of Meilo. So Zak the Gemara, let's see the Gemara. Right. Yeah. V'yesh Malim Ben, right? Rashi points out. So Zak the Gemara, Taner Rabban, all right. V'yotza el mizbeach. It says v'yotza el mizbeach. Ma tamaloymar. Eddie pointed out. V'yotza, where's he going? Why isn't it the outer mizbeach? So ma tamaloymar. Amar Rabbi Nechemia lafi shematzina b'par haba al kol hamitzvahs. Now, when it comes to the special bull offering of the Kohen Gadol, which oftentimes is also used to go ahead and sprinkle upon the curtain. So it says. Notice he's normally standing on the outside, right? He's standing on the outside of the mizbeach. In other words, on the eastern side of the mizbeach, and there's the mizbeach here, and then the curtains are behind it, right? So over there, so okay. So now you might think over here. So therefore it says Tamalayim v'yatzal mizbeach. So therefore it says v'yatzal mizbeach. He goes out to mizbeach. So hechan hayal lifnim in mizbeach. And so then in other words, so it's teaching over here that in this case that he was. So therefore, when he's normally let's go. I have to go this way. Right? So normally, right, just north, south, west, east, right. So normally he stands over here, right. So the v'yatza means he walks to this side. That's what it means. V'yatza doesn't mean he exits. He exits this area because he was standing over here sprinkling the blood on these curtains. Now it's time to apply the blood here. Walk over here. That's what it means. V'yatza when it comes to Yom Kippur. All right. Now we have another brisa which covers there. Now Tanya brisa says lifnei Hashem. It's the pasuk says lifnei Hashem over there. So matam aloymar. So Amar Rav Yirmiyah Lifi Shematzina B'Parav Sir Yom Kippurim, because we find that a Parav Sir Yom Kippurim Shekoin Ami Lifnim in Mizbech, as we just pointed out that the Kohen is between the Mizbech and the curtains, right there, right. Well, Mazal Parach is then over here. Then he sprinkles on the curtain or towards the curtain. So B'Shashu Mazal Yachol Avzeh Kain. In these korbanos, let's say for a avodah zarah or some severe iser that the Kohen Gadol or Nasi performs, you might think Tamaloymar. Therefore, it says. Mizbeach Ketairas Hasami Lifnei Hashem. The Mizbeach is Lifnei Hashem. Asher Ba'el Moed. So Mizbeach Lifnei Hashem, Vein Kohen Lifnei Hashem. Tell you that the Mizbeach is in front of Hashem and not the Kohen. He's on the other side. Okay, so I was at I made a chutz the Mizbeach Umasi. Therefore, in that case, he sprinkles from outside the Mizbeach, right, and he goes over the Mizbeach towards the curtains. When it comes to Yom Kippurim, excuse me, he's when he's on the inside, right, and therefore when it comes. In that case, so no, when it comes to that case, he's on the inside, but over here he is on the outside. Fine. Zok the Gemara. Right, 2 dots. So he's chil mechatav yared. So when he goes out, he begins. He starts on top and goes down. So Taner Rabbanan he's chil mechatav yared mehechani amaskil. Where would he go from? Mikeren mizrachis dramis maravis tzfonis mizrachis. Right. David Rabbi Akiva. That's been Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says he starts at Mizrachis Dromis. Right? He starts at Mizrachis, Mizrach East, Dromis, Southeast, and then he goes clockwise. So according to this opinion, this is different in our Mishnah. This is Rabbi Akiva, right? Rabbi Yosef Glili is going to be our Mishnah. So he starts at this corner, right? I'll just extend a little. Let's say this whole thing is in his back, right? Starts here, 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 all right? And our Mishnah, which is Rabbi Yosef Glili, is going to say you start here, you go here, here, here. Okay, in other words, counterclockwise, right? So, right, which I mentioned. So Rabbi Akiva says you go clockwise, starting from the southeast. And Rabbi Yosef Glili, oh no. Mikeren Mizrachis Tziphonis. You start at the northeast, and sometimes my Rav is Deromis Mizrachis, right? And Malcolm Shab Yosef Glili Maskil Sham Rabbi Akiva Paisek. Malcolm Shab Rabbi Akiva Maskil Sham Rabbi Yosef Glili Paisek. coincidentally, once again, let's say this whole thing in the Mizbeach, right? So Rabbi Yosef says you start off here, right, at the northeast, right, and then you go counterclockwise, and the last one is here. And according to the other opinion, you start here, and then you end up over here. So coincidentally, where one starts, the other one stops, the other one starts, the other one starts. Now, so the Kuli Amamiha, the whole Karen the Paga Bereisha Loy Avi. But they both agree that you start on the east side. Now remember, the Kohen Gadol was on the west side, right? So he had to get to the east side, right? But they both agree that he didn't start in the west; he started on the east. So why is that, right? In my time, what's the Shmuel? The pasuk says v'yotza el mizbeach, right? Ad yafik mikula mizbeach. He has to pass the mizbeach. He has to go beyond it. So he can't just go to the western side because he's not going beyond it. He has to go all the way to the other side. He can't just go to the mizbeach. He has to go to the other side of the mizbeach until to the mizbeach. I Rabbi Kiva. So nakiv derech yamin. But Rabbi Kiva, right? Why doesn't Rabbi Kiva hold, right, that you
So around to the right.
right? Why does he say you go on to the right, right? We find by the other karbanos, by the outer mizbeach, you go to the right, right? You go counterclockwise, right? Over here, Rabbi Kiva says you go clockwise. So why is he saying that, right? So he says over here, nagiv derchimin. So lema the Rabbi Bar Yecheskel coming through. Let's see, Rabbi Yecheskel, Rabbi Yecheskel, Yam Sha'asa Shlomo, right? The yom, the mikvah that was made by Shlomo, made al Shnei Masar Bakar, was basically standing upon 12 bakar. Shloisha panim tzfona, right? 3 were facing north. The shloisha panim yama, and then the others were facing west. The shloisha panim, and then when that was south, the shloisha panim mizrach, then east. So it would go counterclockwise. Yom alayim milamala, and the yom, the mikvah, the water was upon them. The chol achareim. But that was, I guess, it was supported. It would move around, right? Yeah,
Right.
That was a time,
And it was like a bowl shape.
right?
And it sat on top of the oxen.
Right.
The oxen.
The fronts were out and the rear side were towards the middle.
Right. And it says vayom aleim milamala v'chol achareim beita. So it says, and it was on top of them, right? And they were all facing right inside. So halamata shekol penis shata peina lo ya'ala derech yamin, right? So everything really that should be done should really go to the right, right? El derech yamin. So the Gemara says lo. So the Gemara answers no. So he said, so just let's place. So where's it low? So he says no. You lo you ela derech yamin. All right. So he says no. In this case, right. So we say lo derech yamin mizrach. So everything should go to the east, to go to the right. So the Gemara says no. Maybe so. Let's say Mar Isay the Rabbi Yecheskel, Mar the lesson of Rabbi Yecheskel. The one who holds, you go counterclockwise, holds like Rabbi Yecheskel, which would be Rabbi Yosef Glili. And Rabbi Kiva says you go clockwise. L'chora, he does not hold Rabbi Yecheskel. So the Gemara says no, that's not the case. To Kuliyalma, Islu Rabbi Yecheskel. Everyone holds Rabbi Yecheskel. However, why over here does he say you go clockwise, not counterclockwise? So Mar Savar Yafin Panim Mechutz, or Mar Savar Lo Yafin Panim Mechutz, right? One held that you go since this is a halacha which is on the outside, so therefore it doesn't necessarily apply. That was outside, right, by the courtyard, right, outside of the heichal. Maybe you don't learn the halacha there, so therefore the halacha of turning to the right doesn't apply here. The other one says no, we even learn from out there. So I guess we'll continue tomorrow from over here. The sugya continues. Shkayach everybody. So tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, we will continue at the same time.